The following podcast contains coarse language and adult themes. This week on the show, Phase 4 has gotten us feeling a bit Thor, and we really miss Marvel. Jesus, I hurt myself reaching for those puns. It's our review of the best and not so best from the Big Mouse House in 2022. I'm Regs.
And I'm Aady.
And this is the Film Addicts Podcast. Hey friends, and welcome back to the Film Addicts Podcast. I'm here with Aady. How you doing, man?
I am doing good. Really excited for this episode.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming.
Yeah, it's going to be the last one for Marvel for a bit.
I think so. Yeah, but then again, fucking She-Hulk comes out.
Oh,
would
Jesus!
You just give us 10 minutes. Would you give us 10 minutes alone, Marvel? My God, I'm not 100% like sure what that show will be. Really, it seems like it's kind of a combination of a bunch of different stuff, but it doesn't feel like, just from the trailers, which isn't a great gauge, like it's a normal Marvel show, you know?
Yeah, I mean, like I've felt that about literally every Marvel show that's come out.
Yeah.
It's been very, very different from all the shows plus the movies. So I'm excited, and we're recording this on the 17th, and the show comes out on the 18th.
It comes out tomorrow, does it? Okay.
Yeah.
I would have thought they'd go with a Wednesday schedule, but fuck, what do I know? Well, that's interesting because one of the topics, everybody keeps talking about how bad the CG is in it. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't understand. We haven't even seen it yet. Like, how can you gauge from trailers? And I fucking guarantee you, and I know this from experience recently, like, I shoot stuff in like 4K, so it's, you know, it's pristine. Looks great. Upload that to YouTube, no problems. There's even 4K options for YouTube. You can crunch down to 1080p, but you can upload in 4K and you can watch it in full resolution. You can put it on a TV, broadcast on a 4K TV like I've got. It's beautiful. But majority of the time when you see these trailers and stuff like that, it's on social media, Instagram, Facebook, whatever that other one is that sounds like a biscuit. That's a really good TikTok joke, and I hope you enjoyed it, because British people and Australians will know what a TikTok is. It's a type of biscuit that looks like a clock. Anyway, I digress. So you're watching these things on your phone, in like 720p or below, like, fucking 340p or whatever. That's like the resolution, the progressive lines that you get of information. If you're looking at something that is, as I hope, expertly rendered as the Hulk and She-Hulk are going to be, you're not going to get much out of it on your phone, friends. So maybe wait till you can watch it on television.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that, because that's exactly what happened. Because Marvel puts out their teasers and their trailers in 1080p, but they shoot everything in 4K.
Oh, they would shoot everything in 8K or 12K at this point.
I guess so. But
oh yeah, because they came out, someone came out and said, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, the Guardians of Galaxy 3 is the first Marvel show or the first Marvel project to be shot in, I think, forgive me if I'm mistaken here, but I think they said 12K or at least 8K, but like the highest resolution you could possibly get out of a camera.
Shit.
Yeah, man. We're talking like, if it's 12, you're talking about, quadrupling or quintupling the quality of an image in a 1080p, like so much so that if you were to shoot a wide shot, you could then crop to make it a close-up and you wouldn't lose anything. Like, this is just, the next level of digital cinema. So
no, I'm just contemplating my decisions now, because I'm still stuck with 1080p.
That's, and it's fine. Like, it works good. Crunching down to that size can be beneficial sometimes, because it does give you more leeway, when you're in the editing process and whatnot. And that's a perfectly serviceable resolution for any TV or whatever, but just seems like people are judging this thing a little too quickly. So even if they did shoot it in 4K, it's not looking like that.
Yeah, well, it's not looking like that on YouTube. If you have Disney Plus and you go on Disney Plus and you watch the trailer, you can see there's a significant difference in the quality of the trailer.
Yep.
So just like, it's either people who like who are saying all this shit who don't even have a Disney Plus subscription.
Or it's just
So-
like the guy from funny because we'll get into it. Taika Waititi created What We Do in the Shadows, and that became a TV series. About vampires,
Yeah.
documentary about vampires. And in the TV series, there is a character who's not in the movie named Colin, he's an emotional vampire. And he just sucks the energy out of people by boring the shit out of them. And one of the things he does is go on the internet and troll people because he gets energy from it. Like he saps energy from it. He's the kind of person who's making all this shit about She-Hulk, Oh, it doesn't look very good. People are like, fuck you. And that's exactly the reaction they want,
Could be.
But also, before we get into nerd news, just because we're talking about She-Hulk, Mark Ruffalo, Ruffles. Oh, yeah, we just call him Ruffles. That's awesome. I wonder if he's got a pet dog named Ruffles.
I don't know.
No, why would you? Because it's a stupid thing to say. But it'd be cool if you did. But he came out recently and was saying that Secret Wars is going to be huge, even in comparison to Endgame. Threw a bit of shade Star Wars' way, which is fun. Got a few people angry about that, but whatever. It's the same company. Who gives a shit? But yeah, it sounds like he will be playing a significant role still. So one of the few Avengers still kind of the OG Avengers still hanging on, along with Hawkeye and the Thor. Yeah,
and also, who's never mad at Star Wars? Like that's never happened.
I know. It's kind of like if you're a huge Star Wars fan, part of your identity is to be shitty about it all the time. There's a couple of guys in my film club group, Johnny, one of the guy who writes our theme music, and my mate Tim, who's is a wonderful dude, very intelligent. He's a novelist, but a lot of the time they get into a conversation about Star Wars on our group chat, and man, you come back to it an hour later, and there's 1,700 messages you've read about them having a problem with something. But I guess people take these things on. It becomes important to them. It feels like a piece of their self. So when it's attacked, they feel like they're attacked. It's silly, but I kind of get it. It's just when people get agitated, and particularly when they get racist and sexist around stuff like that. It's a real boys' club. But fuck all that noise. Do you want to do the nerd news?
Let's do some fucking nerd news.
So here it is, the nerd news, as of today's date, which is the 17th of August, 2022. I know this episode comes out about 2 or 3 weeks after that, but it doesn't matter. This is a pretty big one. Ezra Miller has come out and broken their silence about their behavior that they've been exhibiting over the last, years, I guess. And they've officially sort of brought out an apology, which I will read very quickly, verbatim. So this is in quotes. Having recently gone through a time of intense crisis, I now understand that I am suffering complex mental health issues and have begun ongoing treatment. I want to apologize to everyone that I have alarmed and upset with my past behavior. I'm committed to doing necessary work to get back to a healthy, safe, and productive stage of my life. Productive stage in my life, end quote. As I was saying to you earlier, Addie, when you sent me that, good. I'm glad that they're getting some help. Clearly very troubled person. That doesn't excuse some of the behavior and also some of the troubling things that have been said by other people about them. Whether it comes to maybe some sort of grooming. See, I don't know all the details. I'm just saying there's been allegations of grooming and that perhaps he was holding some people against their will. Clearly a very troubled individual and needs help, but it still the fact still remains that some of the things that they may have perpetrated allegedly are not okay and shouldn't soon be forgiven, that's for sure. And this does absolutely seem like after the just collapse of everything Warner Brothers was doing with the DC properties, this might be a little bit of PR repair for The Flash, which is still scheduled to come out next year?
Next year.
Yeah. So how do you feel about it? I'm kind of, like I said, I'm glad that they're getting help, but there still needs to be some investigation here into exactly what went on.
Yeah, I completely see your point and I agree to it. If anything that's going on at WB has taught us anything, is that everything is a business. So this is a business move. So take everything with a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
But if it is actually true, then again, like you said, I am glad that they're getting help that they need. I'm actually still just worried about the film, like, because it means so much to just the character of Barry Allen, and now having Ben Affleck back as Batman, it changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because that would have been the last time we saw Ben Affleck as Batman. So.
Yeah, that's true. Well, by the way, happy birthday, Ben Affleck. It was his birthday like 2 days ago. 50 years young. God bless him. God bless his little bat bum. Yeah, I totally get it, man. And also, you know, we talked about this early days. Barry Allen is really one of the purest heroes that DC has. You know, part of his struggle is that he's never fast enough to save everyone. You know, that's such a beautiful dichotomy to have in a character who can move, you know, faster than the speed of thought. And yet he can't be everywhere. You know, it's like in the Kingdom Come series where he's constantly in motion because he's never in one place. You know, such a brilliant idea. And that goodwill, that, you know, that sense of family and community in the Flash, in the comics, definitely. I'm not too sure about the TV show. I only saw a little bit of it. But he is a very pure character. Some of the things that this young person has been accused of are not so pure, and it is tainting the way that we see, you know, what this Flash could be. You know, is that someone we want to represent one of our heroes?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I just hope that the film doesn't get shelved because it's been on since 2018, and it's like I'm really looking forward to it because Andy Muschietti has finally made a superhero film. Yeah.
Andy Muschietti. Sorry. I cut you off again.
No, yeah, I'm just excited for him, but I'm also just worried. So
yeah, and that's fair. And you know, I still haven't seen those It pictures, by the way. I'm sorry. You know, something about watching a clown eat children hasn't really been on my radar for a little while. Yeah, and it's not just that as well. Like, that film has been on the cards for a long time. It wasn't before Andy the mustachioed Andy come on. There was other people attached. You know, there was even talk at one point as Ryan Reynolds playing Barry Allen before he ended up being Hal. So yeah, it's a long history of, you know, trying to get this done, even though they've been doing it quite successfully on television for a while. So I don't know what the fuck. This comes perfect timing wise, especially with what we were just talking about with the release of the She-Hulks very soon. Disney may soon regain the theatrical distribution rights for the Hulk as soon as June of next year. Why, oh why, do you think the Mark Ruffalo is all of a sudden talking about what he's going to be doing in Secret Wars? Because at some point before that, we're going to get a fucking World War Hulk movie. It's got to happen. Come on. Don't you think?
I don't know, man. World War Hulk. That's
sort of like what they did when Thor found him on Sakaar in Ragnarok. But I just feel like we're going to get a solo Hulk movie before Secret Wars that's going to somehow set some shit up. No?
Is it going to be? I don't know. I'm not. I like the way that they've integrated the Hulk in all in like everything.
Yep.
I don't quite. I'm not completely on board with the idea of having another Hulk film.
Oh, you racist against green people.
Fuck you, dude. I love Poison Ivy. Shut up.
Poison Ivy. Oh, speaking of Poison Ivy, there's a really, really good comic series of her out at the moment. Like, she's got a solo 6-issue mini that's fucking awesome if you get a chance to pick it up. It's really good.
What's the name?
You love a Skrull. It's just called Poison Ivy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And she's going around the country, like, infecting people with a fungal thing, and she's trying to take over the world, or trying to save the world. But anyway, I digress again. You also like Skrulls, so it was just a joke. You love a green person. Kermit. The Phlegm guy from those ads. Who?
She-Hulk as well.
She-Hulk also. There's an awful lot of green people to love and enjoy. But that's pretty cool, you know? You might give Ruffalo the opportunity to do some stuff that he didn't get a chance to do as a side piece. As a side piece. Someone's having sex with the Hulk on the side. Oh, you don't want to do that. Get in heaps of trouble. This one is unsurprising and is also... were you laughing at the Hulk being a side piece? That could be the subtitle for the film. The Incredible Hulk, side piece. And it's just about him lamenting the fact that he's dating a married man or woman.
You said that, and my head went to when we recorded the Moon Knight episode where we had the whole Hulk conversation.
What did we say about Hulk during Moon Knight?
We had a Hulk conversation about how big his penis is.
I forgot about that. And you were insinuating that he would get Reed Richards to help him. I forgot about this.
maybe that's the show, dude.
Enjoy that. The idea of Hulk going to Reed Richards, the smartest man on Earth, and being like, I can't fuck anyone because my dick's enormous. Please give me a normal man-sized pink penis, but with huge, big green Hulk balls. Like, it's such a ludicrous issue, but something that probably would come up.
Yeah. Maybe that's the project they're working on.
It must be, yeah. The Incredible Hulk # my little pink dick. Fantastic. Anyway, go back to our Moon Knight episode to enjoy that joke fully. This next news article I would like to file under no shit. Marvel Studios is reportedly setting up its own VFX house in response to the recent complaints from third-party workers. So, in order to circumnavigate the horrible press that Marvel has gotten and Disney has gotten recently in how they've treated visual effects artists in the past, instead of like issuing an apology or something, or at least admitting that maybe the situation or the conditions aren't optimal for good work and for, people's health, they've just gone, we're going to start our own shit. And what they'll probably do is poach all the really good people from these other smaller effects companies that they've been using, and those places are going to go the fuck out of business. Because Marvel's the only game in town when it comes to that shit. And if they're doing it all themselves, like, autonomy will give them everything they need to be able to produce stuff without the backlash. So I'm not really on board for that. I think it's corporate thinking. It's franchise thinking. It's sort of like bringing the walls in even tighter, as if they weren't tight enough with Disney controlling all this stuff. They're now in even further. Like, oh, we've got our own dudes to do this now, so they'll shut the fuck up. They won't say dick, because they'll all have non-disclosure agreements and stuff as soon as they step in the door. So, yeah, it seems like a real fucking savage business move, if I'm honest.
Yeah. So, like, last episode I talked about how there was a VFX house that went down after the Life of Pi film because of the work that they had to do. Yeah. It's going to be a lot more of that, and like, if you have a chance, go watch that, because because it literally shows the reality, and it's like the film came out like what 11 years now, and it's just getting worse and worse. It just shows the reality of how these amazing storytellers and these amazing artists are treated.
Yeah,
It's just very sad.
it is. It's horrible. And hopefully there's some way somehow they're able to come out of whatever this is going to be on top. But yeah, I don't know. And finally, in the nerd news, unless you had something nerd news.
Oh, I do have something, but I'm saving it for the last one.
Ooh. Okay, cool. Rest in peace, Anne Heche.
Yeah.
Wonderful actress from many films, 6 Days and 7 Nights with Harrison Ford. She was in Volcano with Tommy Lee Jones, which is great, where Tommy Lee Jones like punches a volcano or whatever happens in that picture. She was also in the remake of Psycho. Just a super talented actress who popped up in lots of stuff. Like, even if you don't know her work, you've seen her in something. Horrible situation. Was in a very severe car crash and was through catastrophic brain injury caused by said accident. She was unable to survive. So yeah, really, really horrible circumstances. And such a loss to the acting community. So all the best, Anne. We'll see you on the other side, mate. And that's the end of my dour nerd news. Did you have a happy one?
I did, kind of.
Okay.
So I want to get your reaction because there's a rumor going around. A rumor. How the fuck you say it?
Look, man. Look. I'm. What happened between me and that goat is nobody's business. No, I'm just joking.
What the fuck?
I was making a goat sex joke. You probably shouldn't do that. Anyway, you were saying?
Yeah, and that's animal cruelty.
It fucking is. It fucking is. An animal can't consent. I'm sorry. Like, that's... Yeah. Talk about a tangent. Anyway, so what's the rumor that's going around?
That's like when we talked about how Uncle Owen and Puru would like fuck a Wookiee.
Yeah, but a Wookiee's like is able to communicate well enough to be able to be
it was
like...
a penguin. It was a human-sized penguin. We talked about that.
Was it? That's even funnier. No, but like, like go on a long weekend to Tatooine and fuck a shaved Wookiee, all consensual. Anyway, stupid.
Yeah, sorry.
That's fine. We have fun. I've lost the track altogether.
Yeah, I had something to say.
Yeah, is a rumor of some sort.
Yeah. So the rumor is that Hawkeye season 2 is currently in development and will be part of the multiverse saga.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder what that show is, because the first one was such a caper. It really knocked it out of the park emotionally and in terms of its action, and just kind of fired on all cylinders. And it was set at Christmas. It was like perfect in every way. I don't know what the next step is. That is it Kate's show now? It must be.
It must be. I think, and this might lead us to the episode actually, or like today's episode. I think this might be like a cool way to set up the Young Avengers, where Kate and Clint go on and like they take people like Kamala Khan in, and hopefully Wiccan and Speed. Yeah, if they exist,
they've got to be pulled. If it's a multiverse saga, I mean, what else? That's kind of.
I mean, now is the time, right? Now is the time to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it could be like a cool way to set up the Young Avengers, so that then that leads into the last parts of Phase 6, which is the 2 Avengers films.
Yeah, I'm totally on board. For Young Avengers, just bring in some new blood, a bit interesting, and have these older guys be, mentor-y types, and have them be the ones that kind of hopefully end up saving the day. But you never know with Marvel these days. Having said that, though, speaking of multiverse sagas and stuff like that, did you see the mocked up poster that was going around recently after Sam Raimi made a comment about what he would do if he was to make Spider-Man 4 with Tobey Maguire?
Absolutely. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Right. So in some conversation, Sam Raimi said what he would probably like to do if he was to make Spider-Man 4, as in a sequel to, the fourth part of his Spider trilogy with Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst, would be to, because they're old enough now, to introduce May Parker, Spider-Girl.
Oh, that's what that was.
Yeah.
What?
And I was like, fuck yeah, you could totally do that. Like, even if Toby doesn't want to do, he's in it for 20 minutes or something. Kirsten's in it for 20 minutes. And then boom, you cast some young person as May Parker, do a version of the Spider-Man suit from those pictures in that kind of guise with the blue up either side and, some of the diamond kind of thing. And have a fucking Spider-Girl movie. You could totally do it in these days and times. Disney Plus. No,
dude.
I don't have a voice for Sony yet. What would Sony sound like?
Yeah, it's a bit Disney Plus, but a bit Netflix. That's where you put Sony.
You want me to do in between? Yeah, this is Disney. Hello, I'm Netflix. It's just my voice. It's just my normal. Hi, I'm Sony. We're very severe. Do you want to see Morbius 2? Neither do we. Like, that kind of thing is kind of, it just sort of sounds like me.
That's not fucking true. Man. Yeah, they would love to show like a fucking trilogy of Morbius.
Oh man.
And then have him show up in like films like the sequel to Ghostbusters Afterlife, where he's the one.
He's the bad guy. It's him and fucking Zool all hanging out, all that stuff. Put him in like dramas, like instead of Sense and Sensibility, it's Sense and Sensibility and Supernatural Creatures, or whatever. Or what was the one from the old Wizard magazine? Sense and Web Ability. That'd be fun. You could put him into like a Hangover type movie, where he wakes up and he doesn't know what's been happening. He's just covered in blood. He's like, oh shit. And Mike Tyson's there. It's a whole bunch of options, really.
Sure. Fuck, what the fuck are we talking about?
I have no idea. I never know. No, we were talking about Hawkeye, the possibility of Hawkeye.
No, we're talking about Spider-Man 4.
Yes. Well, that would be after Hawkeye, yeah. So that would be very, very cool. I think that's a really good way to do those new characters.
It's not going to happen. We know that.
No. There's too many balls.
But if it does, I would fucking love to see May Parker rescue Cindy Moon. That would be fucking awesome.
It's a way to start all that, and you can do it in that universe. It's just as interesting as if you were to do it in an original form. But yeah, I guess we'll see. We'll see after the next two Morbius films. So let's talk about Thor and Ms.Marvel in that order. And you might notice, folks, this episode is called Two Thors and a Baby. That's a joke about Three Men and a Baby, the movie that came out 158 years ago for the young people who are watching right now. But I only say baby in that the young lady who plays Kamala Khan is probably the youngest cast member, major cast member of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But we'll get to that shortly. Let's talk about Thor 4, Thor Love and Thunder. We've kind of touched on it briefly over the last few episodes because it did come out a little while ago. Addie, you tell me how you feel about it, because when you first saw it, you were kind of like, oh, okay, but I think maybe things have changed.
Yes, this is the most changed opinion I've ever had from.
Really? Like, when did it happen? Was it like you woke up in the middle of the night like, boo, it sucks! It sucks! Oh no, my life! Was it like that, or?
No. I mean, no, but also kind of yes. Like, it was all in my head, but also sure. Mm-hmm. Like, when you watch a film, right, you think it's the best thing in the world because of recent bias.
Okay.
Like, I'll give you a small example. Like, there's an unofficial trilogy called the Cornetto trilogy, or Three Flavors of Cornetto, by Edgar Wright, that has Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End.
Mm-hmm.
And the World's End, because people fucking rank shit. So the World's End is like never in like the top two. But
I think those movies are diminishing returns, like 1, 2, 3. So like how in terms of quality.
In terms of quality, people go 2, 1, and 3.
Oh, is that right?
I love the third one like the best, because it has one of the best characters ever put to film, and Simon Pegg does an amazing job. But because like it was, because I watched those two and then I watched The World's End, I fucking loved it. But then I was like, shit, I have to watch those two again to understand if I love it as much as those two. But I still do. What the fuck am I saying? Yeah. So
I don't know. You're veering quite off the point, but that's okay. That's what the podcast's all about. You'll find your way back, buddy. Just follow those breadcrumbs back to Thor.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, it was a recent bias when I said, "Holy fuck, this might be better than Thor Ragnarok." And like a week after, I was like, I don't like this movie. And when I realized that, I was like, holy shit, we were right. Because we talked about this being a fucking kids film.
It is.
We were fucking right.
Yeah, that was the first thought I had as soon as it started. I was like, oh, this is for children. And that's totally fine. It's even marketed that way. But being, unsure of what kind of ground we're on in phase 4, you never know what you're going to get, really.
Yeah, I didn't like Thor in this one. I just didn't. As a character, I think it hurt. Like, this film hurt Thor as a character way more. Like, it's come full circle where he just wants to do what he wants to do, but it's also like, this is the Thor that would have grown up if Odin wouldn't have banished him. Like, this is the version of Thor in the films. If all that wouldn't have happened. And I've said this before, like, I absolutely fucking love the Endgame Thor because of everything that he's gone through in that film and in Infinity War. And they just throw all of it out. Like, and they sacrifice so much of that character for comedy. And like 80% of the time the jokes don't hit. Like, the fuck,
they
man.
do if you're a child.
I didn't see a child laughing on a fucking orgy joke. Like, that was just fucking weird.
It was an orgy joke? Oh yeah, there was too. But no, like, where is the thread of Jane Foster trying to figure out what her catchphrase would be. I'm like, are these words even coming out of your mouth? Academy Award winner. You know what I mean? Like, it's just.
She said. Sorry, go on.
Sit, order chicken nuggets, and shake. Like, sorry, you go.
No, you go first.
Just Natalie Portman is one of the finest actors of her generation. She's proved it time and time again, from Leon all the way until now. What in God's name is she doing this in this movie? That's weird. It's a weird choice. But, she gets to come back and she got all ripped and stuff and got to have some fun, something her kids could watch, I guess. Like, I forgive it a lot for its childishness and its cartoonishness, not only because it's very bright and there's lots of silly things going on, and it is 100% a cartoon, because the majority of it is not there. There are so few real locations, real sets. Even the hammers are, and the Stormbreaker and stuff is not in his hand. So much of it is artificial at this point. It is basically a cartoon. So I kind of forgive it for that. But there's a couple of things that it did which I was like, and one of them is what you're pointing out, is that they're sacrificing such an interesting character, especially post all the things that he's gone through, for comedy.
Yeah. And like, her saying "eat my hammer" is like, the fuck? Like, that's
It's a little bit sexy. I don't know.
It is.
Depends on
it's
the
also,
tone, Ms. Aiden, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, nothing I say is fucking sexy. So sorry.
That's not true. Yeah, it's a weird. I mean, she's. I don't know. It's hard. I'm trying to be again like not super harsh. I had a fine time with it, but it was completely consumable. Like I've said before, it just kind of went away immediately. Apart from Russell Crowe.
I have been scarred by Russell Crowe. Like he was
real life, because he does that. He's
no, what the fuck?
I don't know. He just throws telephones at people and is super gruff. I love him. I think he's fantastic. I really, he's such a great actor and good sense of humor.
Yeah. So I didn't watch this film here. So my only reason to go watch this film was I could see that. Fuck me. I could see that amazing ass of Chris Hemsworth. That was my only reason.
It's. I think they're currently rewriting the rule book so that it can be the 8th wonder of the world. That ass. I mean, it is. He's made out of marble, but he's also made out of other things. And you know, if that's not true, I'm sorry, but it certainly seems like he's. Well, let's just say enhanced. And that's fine. It must be tough to be that in this world. But I just don't. The timelines don't work out for him to be able to get in the size that he ends up being. I'm sorry if anyone disagrees with me, but it's just looking at it from the perspective of someone who weight trains. I don't know how that would work. I could be way wrong, and he's like got a nutritionist, and he's super dedicated, and he can do it that quickly because his body's used to it. But it just seems to happen so quickly. It's like, yeah, I hope he's being careful. Is more than anything.
Yeah. Coming back to the ass though, I couldn't see it.
Going back to the booty. Delish. You could bounce a penny off of it if you wanted to. Boy.
Oh, what?
Boing. This is a funny episode. We're just laughing at each other. People are going to be like, would they shut the fuck up and be journalists already? Because we're journalists, by the way. Don't you know?
No, we're fucking not.
Yes, we are. We investigate. And we disseminate. And we challenge.
Yeah.
This is a very challenging episode for people. But yeah, back to the booty.
Yeah, I couldn't see it because they cropped it out. Because of
the country that you're in. Oh my god! Oh man, I saw the bum cut. So you've got a non-bum cut. Oh my god! You got no crack. You crackless cut.
And no orgy as the word, but like I could figure out, like they had the whole sentence and then just muted the word orgy, and I was like, there's no fucking way people are not getting the talking about orgies.
Yeah.
Like,
did you? So you saw it? Did you see it in like? Was it dubbed or was it English language?
It was English language.
With subtitles. Okay, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, because it was like fucking. It'd be a hard way around it, honestly. To not. I don't know what orgy is in other language, but it's pretty clear that that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So apart from the booty cut, what else did you sort of? What else was the thing that sort of said to you, "This isn't for me"? Because I've got like 3 things that really bug me about it.
I just when the first trailer came out, we talked about it in the Nerd News segment, how when he's standing there in the whatever the fuck that city is, where like all the gods are there and just inviting them for an orgy, he's standing there in shackles, and like on his back he has like a tattoo of Loki's helmet horns, and it says "Rip Loki." And I wanted to see that Thor, the Thor that like went and got that tattoo, the Thor that was still dealing with the loss of his brother, the loss of his best friend, and then the loss of Tony as well. I wanted to see like this is a coming of age film, but it's for Thor because he's 100 and no,
He's over 500 years old, isn't he?
yeah, he's 1,500 years old.
1,500 years old, yeah.
Yeah, so it's still a coming of age story for some reason, and
It sort of is.
and like, yeah, I wanted more. Like, see, when you watch Ragnarok, right? You don't laugh at Thor. You laugh with him because of how serious he is. Like he cracks jokes, yes, but he also does stuff. In this film, I was laughing at Thor. I didn't want to.
Yeah, he's a buffoon.
Like,
he's an absolute buffoon in this film.
And I saw people saying that they killed Thor's character, like, and it's like he's dumb again, and I couldn't get that out of my mind, and I completely saw it. Like, it hurts because I love Chris Hemsworth as Thor, and I loved that, like, Infinity War, Endgame, and Ragnarok Thor so much. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but there's something called character assassination.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's what it was for me.
Yeah.
Kind of fucking you.
Dip and then blip, 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 blip.
Yeah.
You hear me now?
Sorry.
You hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, character assassination is usually something people do in real life to people behind their backs or in media. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying. It is very much that, and I think there's two things, and this will be part of my point of the things that I sort of didn't like about it. I'll make the one now. One is the severity of what that character goes through in Infinity War. Being sort of on the front line of Thanos' attack straight away, losing his brother, having to stand inside the force of a dying star to build a new weapon, to come as a savior, and then to save the day, and not going for the head. You know what I mean? And then at the beginning of Endgame, when Captain Marvel turns up and he's already started drinking, there's a beer next to him, and you're like, okay, and then that becomes a tragedy. But the funny part of him, of like him becoming Fat Thor, that was me doing it in quotation marks, by the way, because it's an insensitive word to use in this context, or in any context really. Like, that became a joke, and everyone was like, oh, and everyone knows Chris Evans' funny. He's fucking hilarious. He's really funny in the Ghostbusters movie that he was in. Like, he's got great comedy chops. He's got great timing, and everyone saw that and like, oh, that's the thing. You know what I mean? Oh, and it worked in Ragnarok too. Like, but so that's not only them seeing how it worked in Ragnarok, but taking like Taika Waititi's innate sense of humor and putting it on everything that's Thor, which is a mistake. And people always talk about that, like Taika Waititi was like being touted as kind of like the savior of that character. I don't think that's true at all. I think, he did do a great work, but he's made one movie for them. Like, there was a meme that went around of, the bit in Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire and Willem Dafoe, and they're on the rooftop, and the Goblin's saying, after everything you've done for them, they will despise you in the end. They'll hate you for it. And that's what's going to happen. And it was that, but it was a picture of Taika Waititi with those. And I'm like, after everything, all the good you've done, people will hate you. And it was like Ragnarok to Love and Thunder. I'm like, well, I mean, Ragnarok it was a good movie, but there's a lot of missteps in that in terms of its comedy as well. Like, it's and I defy you to say that that's his best movie. Are you kidding me? Like, fucking Hunt for the Wilder People is clearly probably his best film, or What We Do in the Shadows, and also
or Jojo Rabbit.
Jojo Rabbit's great as well. It was a little bit more sort of glossy than I would have liked. The subject matter was interesting, but yeah, I mean, he has a sensibility, and it translates into some things, and it doesn't necessarily translate to Thor, because the other issue that I take with that film is that at the beginning, I don't know if I actually hear the line in the film or if it was just in the trailer. Thor says, after the Guardians of the Galaxy piss off and he just accidentally destroys that building behind him, which I saw coming a mile away, He's like,
Yeah.
that's it. I'm done with fighting. What once were hands for battle are now humble hands for peace. And he has his hammer and he puts the Stormbreaker in the ground, and that's it. He's going to become like a Buddhist, basically. And that gets dropped almost immediately. The better story is him agonizing. He should be a conscientious objector. He should be involved in all this stuff, but doesn't want to be. But he just comes back in gung-ho because Jane comes in. All of a sudden, he turns into a fucking 15-year-old boy. And it's like, well, don't set up an interesting a change or an interesting shift for this character into something meaningful, as in, I was a warrior and I don't want to be anymore. I want to be a humble person. I want to be a person who only uses their ability to heal, and then get rid of it because the girl turns up. Like, it was real sophomoric in that sense. It was real childish, again, because it's for children. And then the creme de la creme of stupid shit in this movie is really the subplot of the Jane dying of cancer. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, how can you conceive I understand that comedy and drama can exist in the same space. Definitely. Even cartoonish comedy and drama can exist in the same space. Look at something like even Who Framed Roger Rabbit. There's drama in that. But, Eddie Valiant, the loss of his brother that he's trying to get over. It's a deeply moving story. Bob Hoskins plays it so well. So there's absolutely space for that, but not in this film. It doesn't work in this movie. You can't have something look like this and then talk about cancer a bunch. And then also have her die. Like, have that not be a redemptive thing, like, not that she needs redemption, but not have maybe it him. Like, maybe he fucking wises up and starts behaving like not a little boy and does figure out how to heal her because he's a healer. That's a better arc. He's the one who saves her, not the hammer, not the fucking trip to wherever, not his buns, not, not the orgy, none of that stuff. Somehow he's able to use some of his power. Like, he imbues those kids at the end with part of himself.
Yeah.
He does that to her and she's able to live and happily ever after. But that doesn't get you to the plot of, him raising Gore's kid and they become Love and Thunder, which is sweet and everything, but there's no reason why Natalie Portman couldn't be behind them holding Mjolnir.
Yeah, I kind of liked the whole Natalie Portman thing with the cancer. I love that she dies, but also, did you know that? Just fucking throwing my point out right now, but did you know that, like, Gore's kid is actually played by Chris Hemsworth's daughter?
Yeah,
that's fucking awesome.
That's pretty cute. I mean, all the kids were on set, and young Thor is played by his son, if I'm not mistaken, in that scene where he's running through the forest. It's obviously a really big family affair. Everyone had a great time doing it. Fucking Matt Damon keeps turning up to do that cameo as the actor Loki. That's pretty funny to me. And Chris Hemsworth's brother, like the
Luke
obscure
Hemsworth,
the one that everyone forgets about, he's in it. Like, it's just, there's some cute fun stuff in there, but it's also missing Loki energy too. It's the first thought about Loki, and Tom Hiddleston has it's like in Ragnarok where he's where he lands on the ground finally after Doctor Strange has opened that portal, and he's like, I've been falling for 20 minutes. Oh man, it kills me every time. He goes from being really scared to really angry like that. Oh fuck, he's great. Like, that energy's kind of sorry, I think that joke's so good. I just remembered it. Oh fuck. Whatever happened to Doctor Strange's orange gloves that he has in that scene and then never again? Anyway, I liked him. Maybe he was just doing some gardening.
Yeah, maybe.
Sorry, you were talking about Natalie Portman.
Yeah, I love Natalie Portman in this. I love that she dies, because that's what cancer does. As glorified it is in this film, it leaves you with no choice, and it does kill you.
That's absolutely true. You're right. I retract my statement. It would be disingenuous to have her just all of a sudden be saved, because that's not what happens in real life. I get that. Yeah, good point. Good point, Will. Thank
you. I like the fact that do that with her because it kind of shows that people with that kind of illness can still be so strong, and people wouldn't know. Like when she tells Thor that that's not her trying to gain sympathy. It's her coming out and telling the truth that this is happening and this is going to happen, and I am going to die. And I think that's a wonderful thing, but it's not explored. Like it's things in between lines that you have to read and shit. And my problem is with Thor, and like there was an interview where Taika Waititi said that like the monsters and shit in this film are like drawings of the kids that they gave to VFX artists, and then they created these monsters. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just like, it feels like Taika Waititi didn't want to make a Thor film. Like he wanted to just have fun, and that's clearly shown. Like it was a fun time for everyone. It's even in the interviews, and everyone says it. If you want to do that, sure, but like don't do it on the expense of a character.
Yeah.
Like Thor is one of the OG. Like he's one of the original 6.
He is OG. He's triple OG.
And do you know his arc from the first Avengers film to the last Avengers film that we had him in is something to be proud of and something to be celebrated, but also something to not just forget. Like I would say a good film in a sense of the things that we have in this film would be Thor leaving Stormbreaker and becoming that saint, and then everything happens. But he's not trying to fight. He's trying to comfort Gore, saying that every God is not the same, and just have him befriend him and calm him down from his lust for vengeance. That would, like, if you really want gore in that would be a good way to go. I said this when we were doing the nerd news segment on the trailer. Gore was wasted. He was like, him being in this film makes no sense other than him being there for the plot of the film.
Yeah. And having said that, Christian Bale does a lot with very little.
Yes.
He plays that so strange, and so it changes so much. Like it's almost like a Gollum situation, where his body language changes, from beginning of the film to, after he loses his daughter, and then to becoming this kind of like, creature, and he's sort of doing this weird accent that kind of dips in and out, which is obviously a choice. Like he's a skilled enough actor where he could maintain. He did some really interesting work, and that luckily they didn't make that character too funny either, because he's avenging his dead daughter, for the most part. So I do. You were right. He's a plot contrivance with a voice. Yeah.
Like in this film, more than any other Marvel film, you see the things that you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
As in how things would have been like while writing it and shit, because they're cool characters in it, like, but like for me, like having the love triangle between Thor's hammer and Stormbreaker is just fucking stupid. Like you couldn't think of anything else.
Honestly though, if Thor was a 1,500-year-old god creature who's been around the planet and been to plenty of orgies and stuff, as he alludes to when he's talking to Russell Crowe, who is really great as Zeus, even though he's doing a very strange accent that would normally get you cancelled. He's absolutely pansexual. He'd have to be. Like, he's done everything. He's tried everyone. Now he's fucking hammers. Why not? And the fact that these things are sentient is even more peculiar. Like, I understand Mjolnir is a mystical artifact, and it is drawn to him inexorably by magic, by mysticism, and it comes to his hand and stuff, and then goes to Cap. Like, it has it has power, but it's never been. It's
Yeah,
never
like
the next step is it talking. Like, you know what I'm saying? It shouldn't be. You know what it is? It's fucking Aladdin's carpet. It's Aladdin's carpet. Why did I not think of that when I watched the movie? I would have shouted it out. Everyone, this is Aladdin's carpet. I fucking called it. Get me more popcorn.
That's not how you would say.
No?
You point at the fucking screen and scream at it.
I would. It's fucking Aladdin's carpet! Holy shit! That would be me, yeah. It's a weird, a love triangle between a man and two weapons.
Objects, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, like you said, it's a cartoon.
Yeah. And he's upset because his old hammer, so his ex in parentheses, in quotation marks rather, not parentheses, is currently with his other ex, and his current hammer. It's all sorts of, aren't we hilarious? And I'm not on board for it.
But Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie is so fucking good.
Yeah, she's great and criminally underused.
I fucking know, right? Like when she rides on the Pegasus and comes to like the rescue of the children, or like not the rescue of the town when Gore first attacks her, like holy shit, I'm in love. Like that was so fucking good. But then again, it's followed by Thor changing his outfit into what only could be said as inspired by Wolverine, where he has like that long fucking gold shit, like.
Which he wears for about 45 seconds. And also, can't you put a helmet on motherfuckers? They're CG. They're absolutely artificial, those costumes. Like, they're not actually... They might be wearing them in parts, but those helmets are not on their heads. They've been CG'd. I'm like, well, what the fuck? There's plenty of good prop makers. The more interesting story for Valkyrie, because she's still in the place of, like... She's trying to govern this new... society, and she's still drinking too much, all that stuff. The better redemptive story is she gets the hammer.
Yeah.
If you know, Jane Foster has to die, she passes it on to Tessa.
Valkyrie.
Onto Valkyrie, Tessa. Onto Valkyrie, like I know her. Onto Valkyrie, and she becomes the mighty Thor. And then she is a god to not rule over, but to take care of these people, to take care of the Asgardians in New Asgard. And Thor can go off and adventure with the little girl. Like, it totally makes sense.
It does, but I also kind of like her with Zeus's Bolt. That's
pretty baller.
That's baller. Also, like the fucking dance routine he does with all that shit, man. It was like it's like you have a story and then you go there to like have a break, talk about fucking orgies, and then go back. Like, you cut the fucking part out. It doesn't fucking matter at all.
There's a lot of the film that you could remove, and if you were to remove everything that isn't completely plot-driven, not plot-driven, story-driven, the writing credo of a screenwriter, and everybody says this, Aaron Sorkin, David Mamet, fucking Kristen Kiran-Carnes, like they all talk about what a scene has to do. It's like, who are these people? What do they want and why now? Like, if you're not answering those questions every single scene, that scene is not, it's padding, it's useless. You know, some people get away with it, like Tarantino, where things don't necessarily have to connect, but he makes hangout movies. It's a completely different thing. But if you're just talking about a 3-act narrative, and that's what these are every time, they're all hero stories. If you were to take out everything that doesn't achieve those goals, scene after scene, in Thor Love and Thunder, it'd be about fucking 45 minutes long.
Yeah. I'd reckon like a small Disney Plus special, like 30 minutes.
Yeah, it'd be like a fucking Thor Christmas or something like that. So, but look, having said all that, there's no hate here. It's all love. If you enjoyed Thor Love and Thunder, if you think it's the best Thor, that's beautiful. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. It just wasn't for me. Maybe if I had kids, maybe it's for my godkids, maybe it's for my niece, as opposed to Regs, as opposed to Big Regs. I just call myself Big Regs. That's my nickname, by the way, everybody.
Yes.
In my household.
Okay, shit. Now I gotta call you Big Regs then.
You don't have to. That's it. It's mostly because I eat big meals. And I'm not even kidding. Like, I have a big, like an oversized bowl for myself, where everybody else in the house has normal size bowls. That's not a joke. It's big rigs. Anyway, it's what my missus calls me. So,
big rigs,
big meats. That's what she says. I was literally talking to her before. She's in Darwin at the moment on tour with the ballet, and she was like, we did a FaceTime. She's like, big rigs. I was like, yeah, big me. Like, it's just, we're pretty cute together. Anyway, regardless of what my stupid nickname is, if you love it, that's great. I think maybe time will tell. Maybe time will tell. We'll see where Thor ends up next. So after all that Thor business, 2 Thors, let's talk about a baby. And like I said before, no disrespect, just she's a very young person. And she's very, very talented as well. We're talking about Ms.Marvel or Ms.Marvel or whatever you want to call it. Probably one of the most innovative and original pieces of storytelling that Marvel has had the opportunity to do since beginning their universe in 2008 with Iron Man. Addie, you have very strong feelings about Ms. Marvel. Please tell me.
I do. It's fucking amazing.
It's great.
I wasn't very hyped for it.
No?
I wanted, like, to be fair, I was like, I didn't know like how they would do it. Like, I'm not saying a lot of people do it or like a lot of films do it, but there is a part of just general media that whitewashes a lot of things that happened between India and Pakistan. And I'm an Indian, and like my best friend from middle school is Pakistani, and I fucking love him to bits. Like this, like the countries have been at war and like all that shit for a long time, and I didn't know how much Marvel would go into that. And I'm happy to say that I was so surprised. I was so surprised when when I saw 1945 or like 1947, I'm sorry, in a Marvel show, I fucking teared up because I never thought that day would come. Like, I never thought that Marvel would go there, and they've done an exponentially amazing job, both Marvel and the creator of the show. To like, there's a dialogue in the show where Kamala Khan's brother says that both sides of the partition have stories about the partition. None of them are good, and it's true. Like, me sitting here right now is the effect of my grandfather running away from Pakistan and living his life in India and trying to start over his life there. It's something that's a part of every person in both of those countries.
Sure.
And a lot of times people are hateful just to show how politically correct they are. And I love that this show, at least from what I've seen, has brought these two groups together and finally showed them that we're not that dissimilar. Like, I'm not a Muslim, but I could relate 100% to the family dynamics and everything happening in that show. I could relate it to a level that I couldn't do, like, let's say, Kate Bishop. And when that first episode came out, I was so shook because up until then I never had someone represent someone who looked like me, like in a Marvel show, or just in like that. Sorry.
Sorry.
I never thought that I would have needed it, And then like when I got it, I was like, holy shit, is this like how it feels to be like correctly represented? Because it's very, very, it's very heartwarming to see that they had gone to the extent that they did for the show to make it a family story. Like there's no overarching villain, there's no end of the world kind of shit. It's a coming of age show of a teenager trying to control her powers. It's amazing. So I have a lot of bias for that show.
I don't think that's bias, man. Like representation is exactly what you said, and that's it's an important thing. You know, these people look up to these heroes. Doesn't matter where they're from or what race they are or what sexual orientation. Like everybody needs to have a voice, and you know, I don't want to be like, excuse me. I'm a fairly well educated, semi-intelligent white dude. So I'm not going to weigh in on the politics and all that kind of stuff. What I will say is something that I heard on another podcast. Kevin Smith and Mark Bernardin were talking about Ms.Marvel on Fat Man Beyond their podcast, and one of them had the comment that this show should do for that conflict what Watchmen did for Tulsa. It should be something. I never heard this story before, you know. It should be something that is discussed and talked about, you know, to get a better understanding of people who can sometimes seem very other, you know, the other religions and other races and other conflicts that you're not directly involved in often feel removed from time. Like how could I ever understand? Well, you know, if you look into it, you want to be an ally, you need the information. So, I think that's really important. And yeah, the fact that it's, you know, this young brown girl is able to, would that be the correct terminology? I'm sorry if that was incorrect.
Yes.
Yeah. It's hard. Like I again,
I know.
Trying to be an ally, and I don't want to offend anyone, but you know, that's how she would be spoken of. She's that, and it's her family as well, and the religiousness, but also the lineage of her family. Like it's about where she came from because of where her parents and grandparents and their parents came from. But it's also about a young brown girl in America, in the American system, living in New Jersey, going to school with you know, people of all races and creeds and types. Her hero is, you know, a white female superhero. Like there's that too. You know, what conflict does that create within her, as opposed to how she has to deal with things outside of that? Really, really smart storytelling, and it would be really easy to make it all about that. And it really isn't. It's another coming of age story, like you said, but it's about a person under any circumstances, superhero-like or otherwise, finding their power. She gets the bracelet, and yes, she develops these abilities, which I know are not canon to the comics. She has like stretching ability and stuff in the comics, and I thought this was an interesting way to represent those powers, even though some people had a problem with it, but whatever. It's an interesting story to see someone so young finding their power and learning how to use that as best they can, where at first it was just about hero worship and about being the person that she wanted to be, which was Captain Marvel. And then she gets the costume from her mum, and it's got the strike, and it's representative of her culture and representative of her mindset, and it means more in the end. It was so great. I wonder what her future I know that she's going to be in the Marvels, but I wonder what her future in the MCU could possibly be, because she's a young Avenger, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, how she could show up in Hawkeye 2 and be like a recurring character with Kate Bishop, and they'd be best friends.
And imagine how cool the visual. Sorry to cut you off. The visuals would be for that, like Kate's fighting, but in midair, because Ms.Marvel's Kamala's like throwing the spheres, the crystal spheres, and she's like running across them and diving and shooting arrows, and like could be really cool team up.
Yeah, it could be like Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, but like in the Marvel universe.
Absolutely. And there's nothing stopping either of those people from being queer either, like the way that Harley. That's Harvey. Harley and Ivy are Harvey. I just realized. Anyway, forget all that noise. But it was a really visually striking show too. It was probably some of the best cinematography I think they've had, on any of the shows, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, Loki had a lot, but it's like Loki had just a feel of like you could feel the cinematography, but here it like again it felt so fresh and I know like I'm deviating from the points as well. I talked about the political stuff.
That could be the name of this podcast. The Deviates from the Point podcast, honestly. They don't.
Yeah, the deviating point.
Yeah. Deviate to the point. Sorry, you were saying?
Yeah. I talked about the political stuff so that we don't have to get into it. So we're not getting into it.
Yeah, I appreciate you touching on it though, because it has a resonance with you that it wouldn't with me, and I'm interested in those opinions.
But yeah, it's so rooted in its own culture, but it's so much rooted in the character, and like you said that her ultimate hero is this white female. That's the thing that comics go into, is that when like one of her powers is that she can change her appearances, and when she comes out as a superhero, or like she comes out as a white girl because she doesn't feel like a brown person could be accepted as a superhero, because that's not shown, and that's not been her experience. That would work. I'm not saying that wouldn't work in this show. But I think her not having that conflict and just being a fan could also be a good thing. Like, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing that they didn't include it. I'm also not saying that it's not a good. What the fuck am I saying?
I'm not sure.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
Yeah.
You're not saying that they couldn't have done it or that they shouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
But they didn't have to. They've made those points without being that extreme.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. So I stutter sometimes. I completely fucking forget where I was.
Right. I've still got a stutter that I had when I was, 6 or 7 years old. Still pops up. I just repeat words for no reason. Go on a big long run. Or you've probably noticed it, folks. I often say, in between sentences. That's cast off from when I was a kid. Because it was me stalling until my mouth can catch up to my fucking brain. Stupid mouth and brain. They're out of sync. Like fucking shutter speed and goddamn fluorescent lights. Don't even get me started on that shit. Oh, heavens.
I love how there's a group of 6 people in our audience that would get that.
Yeah, they're all like, oh yeah, I know what he's talking about. I was literally messaging a bunch of people the other night about it, going, have you fucking had so much trouble with it? It turned out that I was 2 light sources fluctuating at different frequencies, which is why I couldn't match my clear scan on the shutter to get right, shooting at 50p. And I was messaging a bunch of other filmmakers, and they're like, what are you talking about? I don't even know what do you mean shutter speed? Huh? Like, don't you know the shutter speed thing? You got to do it. And then there's also
the ISO
lines of information and all that kind of stuff. And they're like, nah, man, we just point shoot, baby. I'm like, oh, well, fuck. But to be fair, though, they're video producers and I'm a film producer. It's often 2 different things.
Yeah.
But I've digressed. Oh, it's tangent. The podcast. Enjoy. I was going to start a little theme song then, but nothing happened. It didn't continue. I stopped dead for some reason. I pulled the brake on that joke. So in terms of not only what this character and her world could offer the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, what's the story? Where do you go next? You know, like, she's, again, from the ending, as you mentioned, we've discovered
she's a mutant.
She's the first.
She's a mutant.
Unless
I
we
fucking
find out
cried.
that Namor ends up being the first mutant in this new Wakanda picture. You know, maybe he's the first, but they're definitely leaning that way. Is she patient zero? Is she the lightning rod for all this stuff? And for her popularity to be like, all of a sudden, you know, in pops, hello, my name's Charles Xavier. Would you like to come and play at my school? I've got a man with claws, and we've also got a man with laser beams coming out of his eyes. What's that? I'm not in a wheelchair yet. Just wait. You know, like, I don't know why I was on the side of the microphone then. It was like he was popping his head in from somewhere. But yeah, is that the next step? That would be so interesting, you know, like the end of the Marvels, all of a sudden, the MCU version of Charles Xavier pops up, and they keep talking about casting the gentleman from Breaking Bad, Carlo Esposito, and he's in Mando as well. He's in The Mandalorian, casting him, and everyone's throwing their hands up and they're like, "Oh, you can't have a person of color be captain. Be captain. You can't have a person of color be Professor X." Like, why the fuck not? He's perfect. He's absolutely perfect.
Who the fuck says so?
He's bald as the day is long. Nothing about that character. Someone was making an argument about it on the internet the other day about how, well, you know, ingrained in his character is the fact that he's British and whatever. I'm like, what?
Wait, he's
what
British?
part of being British means you can't be of color? Like,
oh, yeah,
some people just dim.
Like, I got confused. I thought you were talking about the actor, and he's British. I was like, what?
No. Charles Xavier is a British character, and this person was arguing that, well, if he's a British character, he should be white, which is fucking ludicrous because there's heaps of people of color in the UK. You know, it doesn't make any sense. You know, he could be fucking from Trinidad, for crying out loud. Like, he'd still have a British accent. Just grow the fuck up. But anyway, more to the point, he turns up at the end of the Marvels and is like, hey, I've got a school where we can help you train, and all of a sudden there's X-Men. Like, there's always been mutants in the MCU, and just get over it. You know, they don't have a big to-do about it. It's just like, oh, we were keeping under wraps because we've been persecuted. But now there's all these super people out there.
Or they're hiding with the Inhumans, man. Because people don't accept them, but they are trying to do good in this world.
Yeah. Or they've literally been on Genosha the whole time or whatever. Or Mandapore. Like, Mandapore was in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That place they go to where they meet up with where they go with Zemo and they meet up with Agent Carter.
Yeah.
That's like from the comics. It's like a mutant safe haven. So plenty of opportunity. What would you like to see? That would be my pick. What would you like to see?
I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. The Inhumans coming in and saving, or just taking in the X-Men and showing them, and like, instead of being like two groups that are not accepted by the people and they fight with each other, they accept each other, and because they are the two groups of people that are not accepted, they accept the most. Like, even like, and there's so much that you can do there. You can have queer characters there, you can have trans characters there. It's just so much that you could do with that, and then like put that in the situation that the MCU is in, where, you know, fucking hell, like Daisy Johnson goes and finds Kamala Khan and says that there's some people that you have to meet, and then it's on her if she wants to join them or not, because they give her a choice that we're not forcing you to join us, but we just want you to know that we are here and we exist, and if you ever need us, we'll be there for you.
Yeah,
like have that, man. Like, I just want the X-Men. Like, the X-Men is so much, like, it's so, like, the X-Men, I fucking love X-Men. And I loved Kamala Khan, and then like having her be an X-Men, like, it did make me tear up. I was like, what? There's no fucking way.
It's they're such a fervent metaphor for anybody who's ever felt like an outcast. And you don't have to be, a person of color. You don't have to be queer. You don't have to be non-binary or gay or whatever it is, whatever minority you are a part of or see yourself as a part of. You don't have to be any of those things. You can just be misunderstood. You can be a teenager. Any time, and I guarantee you everyone on planet Earth who has even a modicum of intelligence has felt like this in their lifetime, out of place, or, with yourself and with the people around you. You can relate to the X-Men. They're a wonderful, way into this kind of material to help you understand things a little bit better, or maybe feel like you have a little bit more power over things that you normally wouldn't. But also it affords the opportunity for really interesting stories. And if you can have Blade turn up as a voice at the end of the Eternals, you can have the fucking X-Men turn up at the end of Marvels. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I not even have the X-Men. I'm still really pushing for Daisy Johnson to show up because I just want her to show up.
Yeah,
because that show's fucking amazing.
And so Daisy Johnson, let me get this right. She's from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., yes?
Yes, she's Quake.
She's Quake, and she's an Inhuman. She's an
Inhuman.
Right. Okay.
And the whole storyline of her becoming an Inhuman and the Inhumans coming in is in season 3 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and it's taken a lot. They have borrowed parts, because they show the struggle of being an Inhuman. They have an island in China where all the Inhumans are locked up by Inhumans as well, because they know how people would react, and that's something that's very true to Inhumans as well as X-Men.
Yeah,
because most of their stories are about acceptance and not getting accepted. So yeah, plus the show, Ms.Marvel, is really they had what the fuck is it called? The CDC?
Center for Disease Control.
Damage control.
Oh, well, the CDC in real life is the Center for Disease Control. But in comics, it's just DC damage control, is it not?
I think it's CDC. It's
Central Damage. Well, I mean,
C something or damage control.
In real life, they fuck with viruses. In the fake life, they repair damage that's been done by
viruses.
Yeah, viruses. Yeah, right. Okay, cool.
But yeah, there's just so much to explore now that we have this character, and I love the inclusion of her, especially now because we have someone like what's her name? Oh god,
character or
what's actor? Character? She's in Doctor Strange too.
America Chavez.
America Chavez, yeah. We have America Chavez, and now we have Ms.Marvel, where they could team up with Kate Bishop and do fucking multiverse shit. That's a show.
It is. It could just be called that too. Just do multiverse shit! ! That's the name of the program. They'd get away with it.
They fucking would.
Yeah.
And I can't, man, with the show. It's so good. She makes comics in YouTube videos. It's just so it's so real. That's what I'm trying to say.
It has its finger on the pulse of what would be termed youth ideals and the way that youth communicate as well. More importantly, using electronics, using technology and how you speak to each other. And I say you because, you're of that age, you're still a teenager. That kind of, that energy that is so specific, and also it's real scattered too. The attention spans of people, and I'm guilty of this too, really short. It's what TikTok does so well, because it's all very fast, lots going on, quick material, because you guys have got lots of shit to do, I guess. But yeah, it's got that feel. And fuck, man, the soundtrack is dope as shit. It has got some baller fucking hip hop, but it's like it's Middle Eastern hip hop, or it's hip hop from your country of origin, or it's just some funky shit. Like it's got a really, like, the needle drops are like, oh man, another one, and I had Shazam open the whole show just waiting to try and find out who these people were, because it's really, really cool. That felt youthful, to be that.
Yeah.
To, like, music is something that it defines generations. It really does. Styles of music. Mumble rap is unfortunately one of the ones that's defining this current one, but there's areas of that that's interesting, and that was absolutely what this is doing. So yeah, I think it's a shame that it didn't get the press that it probably should have, because it came out around about the same time as Obi-Wan. They could have staggered them maybe, or Obi-Wan got a lot of press because it was the return of Delicious, which is my name for Ewan McGregor. And he's just delicious. And then it came out kind of almost concurrently, and it didn't get the banner that it would have had on the Disney Plus app was only there for a day or so, and then it was up to Obi-Wan. So it was kind of. And yeah, it hasn't been graded very well or rated very well, or not very many. It's the least watched show or some garbage I read, which is probably not true. That's just clickbait garbage. But yeah, I think if people went to this, and even if you were to remove yourself from the MCU of it all, take your head out of it for a second, and just see it as like, if they just made Ms.Marvel.
Yeah, it still works.
It still works. She goes to AvengerCon, but it's just Ms.Marvel or whatever. And also, that's interesting too, like the Ouroboros of the Marvel stuff with how in Hawkeye you had the Avengers musical.
Yeah.
And
Rogers the musical.
Yeah, it's just Steve Rogers the musical, right? Yeah. It's like it's Marvel circling back to it's kind of becoming itself. Like the fandom that was used to create all of this stuff is now part of the universe which has been created. It's meta as fuck.
Yeah.
And that's, I know that irritates a few people. I find it interesting because then you get to see things like, Hawkeye and this, where it is hero worship. It does speak to the youth latching on to people in the media, or people who have highlights on them right now in ways that sometimes they probably shouldn't.
True. And I know there were a group of people that were very, very against Marvel existing inside of Marvel. That's been in the comics forever, man. Stanley exists inside of Marvel Comics. What the fuck is wrong with you? Just let it be.
Yeah.
And so much of Kamala Khan is her being a fan of Ms.Marvel, of Captain Marvel. And you can't take that out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a moral barometer for her. Like she's seen that and been like, oh, I want to be her, that kind of thing. That's really powerful. That's a really powerful thing for a young person to see. A woman who has great power and is standing next to these gods, and standing up to them. Like, she whooped Thanos' ass. She whooped his ass.
Exactly.
Give him headbutts, and she was headbutting a god. Like it's yeah. I find it, like I've said before, I'm interested in stories that are different and have new ways of going about the same roads that we've traversed before, story-wise, but finding a new way to do it. And whether that's having the character be of the origin that this one is, of the religious background, connected to her family, connected to her past, connected to the history of her people and her country, but also being an American teenager, trying to become a hero because they see something ahead of them that they want to emulate. That's they're interesting threads. So yeah, I'm excited to see whatever happens with Kamala Khan.
Yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to seeing her in the Marvels now. Do you know what happened at the end of the show? Or do you want me to explain what happened?
What do you mean?
Like how they swap places?
No, I don't want to know. I'm just
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of get it. You described it briefly to me when we were recording last time, but I just want to wait and see how they kind of. I like the mystery. I'm enjoying the mystery.
Yeah, and I love that, like when she does tell her mother that she's Miss Marvel, like they're all very supportive. Like it's not like, oh, you can't do this and you can't do that. This is very supportive, which is very true to people.
Yeah, families, I remember when I decided I wanted to be a filmmaker, dropped out of the school play, was chided by all of the teachers for doing it. I had an understudy, like I didn't leave them in the lurch or anything, but they were like, oh, this and that. I'm like, no, I want to be a filmmaker. Saw this documentary called Full Tilt Boogie about the making of Dusk Till Dawn. I was like, I want to be that guy, like pointing at Robert Rodriguez. That looks like fun. Came home from school, depressed, upset by no one in the academic community backing me up on this. Totally viable career choice, he says now, 25 years later. And I told my mum, and she was like, that sounds great, Regs. That sounds like a really, really great idea. The following day, I got home from school and she'd gone to the newsagents and bought me a bunch of film magazines, like, Film Inc. and the Australian one I don't remember, Empire, Movie, like all these things, even ones that were like almost like textbooks on gear, like new gear that was coming out and stuff. It was like, that's kind of the response that most parents would have, or I would hope they would have anyway. Maybe I'm just super, super lucky, and so is Kamala, which is very, very likely.
Yeah, and especially like when you go back and watch like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or like something like WandaVision and Loki have a lot of rewatchability to them because you find new things every time, and like this is one of the shows where I can go back to and like watch any episode and I still love it.
Just drop in.
Like, yeah, like there's not one episode where I'll be like, I didn't like that much. Like it's so consistent in its storytelling. Like, yeah, the episodes are short, but they also work. Like, I think it's the first time that like the 6-episode model, while not being so great, has kind of worked. And I just love the show, man.
That's awesome. That's what we like to hear. And how do you feel about it, folks? Why don't you let us know in the comments or send us a message? And totally open, whatever your feelings are, good or bad, or maybe they're good feelings to you, but they'd be bad to other people. Whatever, just come and join the conversation. That would be lovely. So, do we have any questions today?
We do. We have the only one.
One today. That's all right. That's fine. It's Wednesday, isn't it? So, is it Wednesday? Yeah, it is. God, my days are backwards. Okay, cool. What is the one Wednesday question? The Wednesday number ones.
Why'd you say your days are backwards? What the fuck is that supposed to mean?
I just mean like my fucking work schedule's all over the place, so I often find myself going, "What day is this?" Like fucking The Big Lebowski. I'm not really sure where I am. But yeah, clearly Wednesday. I should know. I've got a plane to catch on Tuesday next week. I should try and get on top of where I am in the course of things. What was your question?
Yeah. The question is,
hey.
So you don't.
Oh no, it's not multiple choice. Never mind.
You said A, and then your video like paused, and I was like, what?
It didn't pause. I stopped moving for a second. Oh, just real quickly though, before we get into the question, we were talking about X-Men's before, and how great they are. Fucking watched Logan in 4K the other night.
Oh yes,
man, it is a treat. It was a treat.
But is there any chance that you watched the black and white version?
No, they didn't have that as an extra or anything. I would like to see that. That would be pretty cool. But it still holds up really well. I like that film a lot.
Yeah. I watched Logan in theaters, but it was in black and white because they had the special release.
Yeah, I missed it, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't know what I was doing at the time, but it was I was frustrated by it. And then it came out on the DVD and it never came back. And I couldn't find it in 4K. I did look for that one, but they only had it in the normal version. So, oh well.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Like the first time I watched it was in black. That's fine. We're talking about films. That's what this podcast is about.
No, I interrupted you again. I have a tendency to do that because my brain
is
fast.
So both our brains are fast and our mouths are slow. So we have to meet in the middle. Then.
I think that's why we get along so well. Yeah, because a lot of the time in my head it's just people going meow, 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 like that, and occasionally there'll be well, hey, hello, voice of reason here. Let's think about this stuff before we fucking say it. And the other one's like, no. I'm like, all right then, let's go to sleep. That's kind of how my brain works. Sorry, so you saw the black and white version in the cinema, no less?
Yeah. I saw it in IMAX, and it was the first time I watched the film. I had no fucking clue it was the last time we were going to see Logan. I was like, what? It's weird because I was away from like all the marketing and shit because I just decided not to watch any trailers.
That's a good course, yeah.
And then I watched it and I was crying. And then I went back home and watched the colored version. I was like, I want to cry again, but I can't. I'm emotionally drained.
It's the same pain, but now in color. This is how people must have felt in the 1940s. When color came into cinema. Actually, it was before that. I think it would have been... What was the first one? First Technicolor movie. Might have been Gone with the Wind. I can't know. Anyway. Fucking digressing again. Ooh, it's called the Digress Podcast.
I mean, it usually happens around this time, so we're used to it.
Yeah, by the time we get into round 3 or 4 of the Zoom records, and it's like 3:30, my brain starts going, fuck. Okay, sorry. Let's get to this damn question. There's only one of them. Oh, it's a funny podcast.
Yeah. I'm actually considering adding this to like comedy as well because it goes into like film and like pop culture. Oh, no, just film and pop culture. We're not journalists, man.
Shut up.
Yeah. Okay, we are.
I think we would be. We could be comedy if everybody found us being silly funny. I don't know if that's the case or not. Maybe let us know in the comments if you would like to be a more serious podcast. We'll come back next week and be like, this week on comedy news, on fucking comic news, some shit happened and Anne Hesh is dead. And like, you know what I mean? We'll be real dour.
Did you just forget the name of our own segment?
Yes. I called it comic news, didn't I? Fucking what an idiot. Yes, sometimes I forget the names of the segments in my own podcast. Next on Comic News, something that isn't. What an idiot. I don't know. There we are, talking about Thor, Love and Thunder. Film came out 2022. You wouldn't be like that? That'd be so boring. Oh, Walter Cronkite, for crying out loud. You can look that up.
That's weird. Like when I started writing reviews, that's how I used to write. And I was like, this is fucking boring. It seems like I'm screaming at someone.
Yeah, I tended to do the same myself when I was doing the Stitch Up as like written reviews. But I find the best way to kind of do it and have it not be, I read a lot of them on Instagram and, they all do start like that. It's usually a blurb about what the film is and who's in it, whatever. Like, say something really, that grabs people's attention like real quick, something that's like, like the intros that I do, like this week on the show, it's silly, like it gives you an idea of what the show's going to be about, but it also tells you in an interesting way, like play with language or, say something about the film that people maybe weren't expecting. And then you can get into the normal part of the review. But yeah, anyway, that's just how I like to do things.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I guess like
what's?
yeah.
Sorry, no, you go.
No.
We're never going to get to this question.
Yeah. If I go, we're never getting this question. We're gonna have another meeting that we have to go. So never gonna.
Yeah, that's right. We'll make notes and we'll come back next week for the series, the cinematic. What are we at? What the fuck are we? We're the fucking Film Addicts Podcast. Welcome to the serious Film Addicts Podcast, where we talk about, movies and Tolstoy and, other things, cinema. I kind of want to do an episode just all like that and really sit up and be like, wow, they did it. They actually went full serious. They were talking about all sorts of horrible things that you shouldn't talk about on a comedy podcast. Anyway.
Oh, God. 100th episode then?
Yeah, 100th episode, definitely. Yeah, I'm going to... Episode? I just had a lisp for a second.
Either the 100th episode or like the 1 year anniversary.
Yeah, well, that's coming up. Oh no! Yeah. Our 1 year anniversary, our meeting is coming up. It's like a couple of months away. We'll have to do something special for that. A cake with a file in it.
What the?
Like in prison, where people are in prison and they get sent a cake that's got a file in it, so they can file them out of the bars. It's like it's a cartoon trope. Anyway, this has nothing to do with film or addicts, unless they're addicts for cake.
Question.
What's that?
Or the fucking question.
This better be the most amazing question that's ever been asked on this podcast. Otherwise, it's going to be all downhill.
Well.
Which is another name for this podcast as well. Hi, welcome back to All Downhill, where it fucking just turns into nonsense by minute 50.
Yeah.
Quick, before my brain thinks of something else.
I can't, man, dude. I'm so glad that we didn't know each other in school, because I couldn't be serious around you, man.
No, I was a fucking nightmare at high school anyway. Like, I mean, I wasn't, horrible to the teachers or anything, but I act the fool a lot, and my friends used to tell me they had really good abs around me because I made people laugh, so they go like, "Oh, my stomach," and like tightening their abs every time they have to laugh. So it was lovely. It was a nice thing to, how at the end of the year, like you get the yearbook and it's got like most likely to. It's like, oh, most likely to do this, and mine was most likely to cheer you up. I was like, oh, that's fucking lovely. So I'll take it. If it comes off annoying as sometimes, whatever.
It's not to me, so fuck it.
Good. I wish we'd gone to school together. We would have been formidable.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Would have been fucking all over it.
Anyway.
Question.
The question is, do you think Taika Waititi tried focusing too much on the comedy in this film? That's one part of the question. And the second part is, and if so, was that a mistake or a good thing?
Do you want to go first?
Your voice is cut out.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, okay.
I'm back? Okay.
Yeah.
You want to go first?
No, you go first.
Okay. Do I think it was entirely his decision? No. I think they've seen how successful Ragnarok was in rebranding the character as a bit of a goofball, and then how successful it was in Endgame making him, while still playing the drama of him losing his family, and the reason he gained all this weight was because he had PTSD or mental health issues at the very least. I think they saw how the comedy played and were like, well, we just need to do that again. It's also Chris Hemsworth wanting to keep things light for his kids. I think it's it's not just on Taika. I'm sure that when he sat down to write that script, he was wanting to tell a really strong and cohesive story with jokes in it, and the jokes just ended up being the thing that worked the best. So that's what it ended up being, and it became a comedy. It's not, a comedy for kids. Do I think that's a good thing? No, I don't really. I think it does a disservice to the character, like we said, and it sets a precedent that's probably the way that the Avengers kind of that Joss Whedon quirky, tongue in cheek, that happened kind of humor is ingrained through the Marvel MCU and sometimes hits really great peaks like Hawkeye, or specifically the character of Yelena. Like, she's great. She's super funny, but it works. But then, sometimes it doesn't. I think you're setting a dangerous precedent to make these. They can't all be kids' movies, is my point.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I agree that I want to think that he didn't want to make a comedy film because he did say that it's going to be very different than Ragnarok, which it was, but not in the good way. I think you get something like Thor Love and Thunder when, I'm sorry to say this, and I hope it's not true, but it's just how I feel as a fan of the character. And it's totally fine if nobody else feels this way. It's just how I feel. You get something like Thor Love and Thunder when the people involved in the making of the product don't really care about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I felt like Taika Waititi knew that people knew that he was returning, that Chris Hemsworth was returning, that Valkyrie was coming back, that Jane Foster was coming back, and so people would go and watch the film anyway.
Yeah, it wasn't a hard sell.
Yeah. Like, before Ragnarok, they would have never been able to do a film like that. Like, the only person who would be able to at least convince Marvel would have been James Gunn.
Mm.
But again, like, Ragnarok is way off from James Gunn's style of filmmaking.
Yeah,
and just
the Guardians movies are funny in a different way. They're not. They're not slapsticky. They're not cartoonish. They're not like Thor Ragnarok and Thor Love and Thunder are someone getting hit in the face with a pie or hit with a big mallet, like circus style comedy. And the Guardians of the Galaxy films are Buster Keaton, or Charlie Chaplin, in that not because they're physical comedy, but just in terms of like going to the circus and seeing a bunch of clowns hit each other with pies is one thing. Seeing a fantastically talented performer like Charlie Chaplin or Buster Keaton do, a comedy the way that they did it is another thing. They live in the same universe, but they're two very, very different levels of what we're doing. Not in quality, but just what you like. So I think, it's particularly the first Guardians film is, really funny.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the question.
All right. Thank you, participant, whomever you may be. And thank you all for coming back and joining us again on the Film Addicts Podcast. Thank you so much for putting up with all of our nonsense today. There was an extra double helping of nonsense for some reason. Maybe it was because we were talking about the Ragnarok. That's not what we were talking about. We're talking about Love and Thunder. See? It's still going on. But anyway, thanks again. Please make sure to like and comment and subscribe and rate and review where you can on Spotify and Apple Music. It really does help the profile of the show. Get more people in here for even more nonsense. And we'll all be nonsense together. And it's beautiful and it's wonderful. And I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. We're like slowly but very fast approaching episode 20.
I know. It's like 3 weeks away. Ooh.
Yeah. So by the time this comes out, we might already have been recorded.
We would have recorded it, yeah. I'd say so. So congratulations us. That's 20 episodes of... That means we've got like nearly 60 hours, 60 odd hours or 50 hours of content now. We're full on.
I reckon it's more than that because we had like a 3-hour long episode once.
Yeah, well, I mean, they tend to clock in at about 2.5, and whatever, people will listen to them. Remember my friend Hugo said that once. He's like, if you've got something to say, just put it out there. If it's long, the right audience will find it. And he's totally right. People will go, 2 hours, I'm not going to listen to that. And other people will go, oh yeah, that's the entire length of my train ride. I'm going to do that. So we just have fun and it's all good. And
like I do that. Like I was watching Harley Quinn and then I watched the new Green Lantern film that's on Jon Stewart.
Yeah, right on.
And I told you to watch it. And like I was watching it, and I was like, man, DC animated films are so good. Just fucking nobody talks about it. And then I remember that we did an episode.
Yeah, we did a
and
whole fucking thing on it, man. People do talk about it. It's me and you, son.
And then the next day I had to go. I had to go to university. So and like my my one-way trip is 2.5 hours long. So I just popped in my headphones and just listened the whole way through. It was fucking awesome.
Yeah, man. That's good. It's a time capsule too, because it goes back to a certain place. Like, you know, the episode that we did, I can't remember what it was on, but I'll never forget because it was a couple of days after Splodge died. My beloved cat passed away. You know, and that was one of the most horrendous things that's ever happened to me in my life. And yet that day I was able to come in here and do this, and you know what I mean? Like it holds a place in time, these things. They're time capsules, and we'll go back, you know, in 10 years' time, we'll go back and listen to that first one and be like, well, holy shit, how far we have come. So episode 20 coming your way very, very soon. Another 2 episodes first. But yeah, thanks for everybody. Take care. Addie, you're beautiful.
You're beautiful too, sir. And for everyone listening, thank you so much for listening this far. And I hope you stick around for the ride because we have a lot more episodes to come. Ooh. And yeah, it's going to be more dueling of the dicks and more anus talks and whatever the fuck.
Oh, if we can only hope. Better, more anus talks. That's amazing. Another name for the podcast. Welcome back to Anus Talks. Guess what the subject matter is?
Everyone, stay amazing and stay safe. Thank you for listening.